Number 9. Balcony. Here on Earth, what goes up must come down. Gravity is a mighty force of nature that you shouldn't mess with, but Alex Terrazas didn't think so. While living it up in Mexico back in 2019, the 23-year-old woman, for some odd reason, decided a 6-story balcony was the perfect place to practice her, quote, expert-level yoga skills. As you can probably guess, this didn't turn out so well for her in the long run. Alex decided to try out a yoga move that required extreme balance. She positioned herself on the rails overlooking San Pedro. She was 80 feet or about 24 meters up and hanging upside down on the balcony rail. It was difficult because she wasn't supposed to use her hands, just her knees to keep herself in place. But as it turns out, she should have been holding on to something. While attempting the move, she slipped, and Alex fell headfirst 6 stories. The impact to the ground below broke over 110 bones in her body. Witnesses called an ambulance and she was rushed to the hospital where she had to undergo 11 hours of emergency surgery. Somehow, quite miraculously, she survived her injuries. She'll likely never be the same physically, but at least she escaped with her life. After months of time resting and recovering, she told local news outlets in Mexico that her health had significantly improved. Maybe now she'll think twice about practicing yoga near a potentially fatal drop, and perhaps she'll have more common sense in all of her future choices. Number 8. Aerial motions. Have you ever been to the circus or seen the famous Cirque du Soleil performers? Well, they're able to do incredible feats of gymnastics, strength, agility, and more. They dazzle audiences with their superhuman-like talents and put on amazing shows. It makes you wonder how they ever learn to do what they do. While the level at which these people might perform is extraordinary, it's actually more common than you'd think to practice skills like aerial yoga and more. But if you aren't careful or aren't trained properly, you have the potential to seriously hurt yourself. One 54-year-old man learned this the hard way. By day, Chaya Lawan was an ordinary farmer. But in his spare time, he liked to practice aerial yoga with a hammock he had installed in his home. The device was hung from his first-floor ceiling, and his friends said he often liked to show off his new tricks. Sadly though, Chaya was found dead in his home near the yoga device. Doctors believe that while he was practicing, it somehow got tangled around his neck, causing him to die from asphyxiation. While police continue to investigate this out of the ordinary death, Chaya's family believes he must have just made a mistake or not warmed up properly before attempting to use the hammock. Always remember, if you try to do something out of your range of skill, have someone there in case things take a turn for the worse. You wouldn't want to end up like Chaya, dying from yoga gone wrong. Number 7. River flow. If you've ever been to the beach, then you've probably seen someone with a mat or beach towel practicing yoga near the waves. Well, some people like to go to more extreme locations. Whether it's at the top of a mountain, in the middle of the woods, near the edge of a cliff, sometimes yoga enthusiasts take things up a few notches. And in these insane places, things are bound to go wrong at some point or another. Chisa Marie is just another social media influencer that tried to take a cool picture but had it backfire on her. She saw a fallen tree that stretched over top of a river and thought to herself, that's the perfect spot to snap a quick photo. So she climbed on top of the log, carefully walked to the middle, and went into her pose. But it wasn't the typical standing crane position. Nope, she decided to do an arcing bridge, which didn't help her situation one bit. Instead of a picture though, Chisa recorded the whole incident on video to make sure she got the exact angle she wanted. But instead of that, she just caught a clip of herself slipping off the log and falling into the river below. Aside from the incredible embarrassment, she was okay and thankfully didn't get injured at all. The video of her did eventually make its way online and went viral on Reddit and Twitter. Chisa has been a good sport over the whole situation, even making a joke about it herself, saying, if the yoga picture wasn't worth it, or if I don't make it on America's Funniest Home Videos, it was not worth it at all. After some people showed concern for her falling in the video, she replied saying the current of the river took her about 30 or so feet, just about 9 meters down. Other than getting soaked and embarrassed, she's okay. At least she knows she needs a little more practice before trying out any new moves. Do you think Chisa deserved what she got? Tell us your thoughts in the comments down below. We love hearing from our amazing viewers. And if you like this video so far, make sure you subscribe to see more amazing content like this in the future. Number 6. Dangers of a handstand. For years, yoga has been advertised as some kind of cure-all form of exercise that's also somehow able to enlighten the mind and connect someone to their inner self. And for a lot of people, it has helped them in their daily lives. But for others, it's done the opposite. For example, one woman named Rebecca Lee had an Instagram page dedicated to the art of yoga, with tens of thousands of followers taking her advice and listening to her tutorials. But one day, while she was filming a new video for her fans, she did an advanced handstand pose, which, with the experience that Rebecca had, shouldn't have been a big deal at all. And at first, it wasn't. She finished up the video, turned the camera off, and suddenly things started to go fuzzy. Her eyesight blurred and her fingertips and arms started to tingle and go numb. Rebecca didn't think much of it since the symptoms died down after about 5 minutes or so. She's also had past health issues like a herniated disc, so she thought that perhaps it was just acting up again. Lee should have gone to the doctor and get checked out though, because 2 days after the incident, she looked in the mirror and was shocked. She saw the right side of her face look completely different. Her eye was drooping heavily and her pupils were dilated. Finally, she called her husband in to help and the pair went to the hospital together. After running a few tests, the doctors came back to the room where the couple anxiously awaited for news. He told them flat out, "Well, you, my dear, had a stroke." At first, they thought the physician was joking. Rebecca was only 39 years old and her health was top-notch, but it was true. During the handstand pose, somehow she tore open her carotid artery in her neck. For weeks after the diagnosis, Lee spent a miserable time. But after only a month, she was back doing yoga once more. You'd think someone who'd just been through something as traumatic as her would avoid a yoga mat, but for some reason, she went right back to doing yoga and posting every day. Number 5. Paddleboard. In 2019, a woman was out paddleboarding when she decided to do a bit of aquatic yoga. But it turns out paddleboarding and yoga isn't exactly the best mix. While trying to help another woman, Lisa Margaritas fell off her board and into the water. Her board got stuck on a nearby bridge and the water's current eventually pulled her in. Sadly, Lisa was tied to the paddleboard by her ankle. Something that was supposed to be for her safety led to her demise. Since she was tied down, she couldn't free herself. Escape was impossible, and Lisa ended up drowning in the current. If anything, hopefully Lisa's story will show others to always be safe while paddleboarding or trying out yoga. You shouldn't take the water for granted. You never know, the wrong move might end up being your 6 feet under. Number 4. Animal companion. A yoga instructor was trying to record some cool footage for a class by the beach when things quickly went wrong. The video had a beautiful ocean background and clear white beach. She wasn't too close to the water, she really was just minding her own business. But one thing she didn't take into account was the wildlife that might be in the area. The Bahamas is a gorgeous place to visit, but it is a tropical area, so there's no doubt going to be some animals there that you wouldn't find in Missouri. While filming for her class in the middle of a yoga pose, a giant iguana came scurrying through the sand and up to the instructor, catching her completely off guard. The lizard took a big bite of her finger, causing the woman to scream in obvious pain, "Hey, he bit my finger!" At the loud response to its action, the iguana rushed away, but in the short clip, you can see a few other creatures in the outskirts acting as if they also want a taste. The teacher picked up some sand and hurled it at the iguanas nearby until the rest of them scurried away. Thankfully, she wasn't seriously hurt, and now just has a funny video and story to share with her students and friends. But always remember to watch out for the wildlife. Number 3. Guru. Some people base their entire lives off of yoga, and if you're an instructor for the art, some so-called gurus have been known to make millions of dollars through teaching, owning a studio, and more. One of these gurus was named Bikram Choudhury. He first gained his popularity in the United States after inventing a form of hot yoga he called Bikram Yoga. It sounds miserable to a normal person, but this form includes practicing stretches and different poses in almost 104-degree heat. Soon, his interesting new form attracted celebrity attention, and he started getting a few star-studded clients, the likes of which included popular people like Lady Gaga and Madonna. But despite his immense success, earning his yoga empire millions, Bikram was hiding a dark secret. In 2017, some former students of his came forward with sexual assault claims against him, 2 of which including crimes as serious as rape. The allegations went on to say how Bikram's studio felt almost like a cult, with many students being involved in a close, quote, inner circle of sorts with the owner himself. In an environment containing such a strange power dynamic, it's not surprising Bikram took advantage of a few of his students. But instead of facing up to his actions, the guru instead chose to flee America to escape legal consequences. With no one left to take over his studio and business, it all went to Bikram's lawyer, since he had racked up a whopping $7 million legal bill with her before he escaped. The yoga empire continues to run, with successful studios all over the country. We can only hope, though, that Bikram isn't profiting off it anymore. Number 2. VERA. A 27-year-old woman was found dead after a freak yoga accident. The backpacker from Portugal had been staying in a hostel in Thailand. She was on the 5th floor of the building when she fell off a ledge while practicing yoga. Her body had fallen on top of some barbed wire below, leaving a bloody mess for the authorities to find. It took a little while to find her at first, since the building next to the hostel had been abandoned for many years and no one usually visited the property. But since she'd been traveling with her sister, the search was persistent. Police believe that she fell early in the morning around 5 a.m. The ledge she fell off of was about 50 feet high, or just over 15 meters in the air. Although very high up, it's not exactly a deadly distance, so her body was taken to a nearby hospital to try and determine a further cause of death. Based on the position she was found in, some police think she may have jumped herself, but her sister remains convinced that she just fell while doing yoga. Either way, hopefully she didn't suffer. Number 1. Hot yoga. Remember a few minutes ago when we mentioned Bikram yoga? It's usually done in extreme temperatures to try and get people to sweat out all their frustrations and inadequacies. But sometimes things go terribly wrong. An older woman and mother of 2 named Phyllis Main paid the ultimate price, and we don't mean money, though it was a bit pricey. After traveling to Acapulco, Mexico in order to participate in a 9-week yoga course costing 13,000 pounds, she became extremely sick during the classes. Her goal was to complete the course and become certified to become a Bikram yoga teacher herself. Unfortunately, Phyllis would never meet this goal. She was rushed to a hospital to see what was going on, but sadly she passed away shortly after she arrived. It's unclear whether she succumbed to the heat that accompanied the hot yoga or if something else was the matter, but Phyllis's whole family was absolutely devastated by the tragedy. Just goes to show that once again, yoga can go very, very wrong. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Have you ever done yoga? Did you enjoy it? Tell us down below in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time on the Bored Badger.